All right, today we're going to be learning how to add two numbers up to 20. This is important because addition helps you to figure out the total amount of something that you might have. So let's look at some examples of what an addition problem might be. So I might have 5 plus 6, I might have 10 plus 8, or I might have 7 plus 4. These are all examples of addition problems. So if I was going to solve this, I'll show you first and then we can try one together. So watch me first. So first we're going to do 5 plus 6. I'm going to use these to help me. So I'm going to put 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to count my total number. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I know that 5 plus 6 equals 11. All right, so let's try one together. Let's do 10 plus 8. So write 10 plus 8 on your board. Good job. And now we need one 10 rod. We know that one rod is worth 10. And we need 8 ones. So put one 10 on your board and 8 ones. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 8?
Yes.
Good. Now let's count them. 10. Or we could just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however you would like. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Good job. For the next one, so we're going to write that on our board. And for the next one, I want you to count with me. All right, so we can clear these. The next one is 7 plus 4. Let's try that one together. So I'm going to take 7 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make sure you put 7 on your board. And then add 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Write your problem down. 7 plus 4. All right, now let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, count. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I know that 7 plus 4 equals 11. Good job writing that on your board. So I want you to erase your board. And you're going to solve one by yourself. You're going to go ahead and try one by yourself. So I want you to write down 11 plus 6. And make sure we're using the rods to solve. Make sure you're using your blocks and rods. Which block do I use for the number 10?
This one.
Yeah, good job. So we have 10, and then we can add one more to make it 11. Okay. What do I need to do next?
Add 6 more.
Good job. So put your 6 on. All right. Once you have that, I want you to try and solve the rest by yourself. What do you need to do?
You add them all up.
All right, so go ahead.
10 plus 1 is 11. Then 6 is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Good job. Write your answer on the whiteboard. Great job. I love how you're remembering to use the 10 rods when you're adding. I love how you took your time working through. I think sometimes we could make sure we recount to make sure we got the right answer, but you did a really good job knowing how to add all of those together and starting with the 10s rod and adding your 6 more. Way to go. So let's try a little game. So we're going to play a little game as a quick informal assessment. We're going to do a little game. We're going to roll the dice and we're going to figure out how to solve when we get 2 numbers. So go ahead and roll once. All right, what number did you get?
4.
So you're gonna write 4. Oh, now let's roll again. What'd you get?
3.
So what do we need to do?
We got 3 that.
All right, so use your manipulatives to solve that problem.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. But add them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Answer 7.
Good job. All right, try one more all by yourself. So roll the dice.
1 and 5.
All right, use your
So we're going
manipulatives.
to put 1 plus 5. Add them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Answer 6.
Good job. All right, you're doing a really good job. I can tell that you know how to use these. For your informal for your formal assessment, you're going to do work through these problems. Use your manipulatives.
Okay. 6 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The next one is 10 and 8. So 10 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, or 18. 18 is total. That's my answer. Or I could have used a big one,
Good.
which is also 10. 7 and 7. 7 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. The answer is 14. Last problem is 6 and 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Answer is 15.
Alright, so the math strategy that I used for this lesson was explicit instruction using concrete models. And the purpose of this strategy was explicit instruction allows for the I do, we do, you do model. And that provides a clear explanation and planned examples, followed by guided practice and then independent practice. This specific type of instruction allows a teacher to ask appropriate questions to guide the student, and it allows for frequent responses from the student. Additionally, it allows a teacher to teach at a specific pace and provide that student with feedback. Using the concrete models along with this lesson allows a student to see a visual representation and manipulate physical objects. Some of the special materials that would be included in this include the planned work, such as, and it also includes the concrete manipulatives. In this case, it's the rods and units. You might need dice for the informal assessment, and any practice problems. So the demonstration of the strategy would be the I do, where you provide a clear explanation and you're telling the student what we're going to be learning today. In this case, we talked about how we're learning how to add two numbers up to 20, which is one of the first grade standards, and we explain why it's important. And then you can provide some planned examples and show them how to complete one. And then you can practice that problem with the guided practice, which is the we do. So you're going to work together to solve the problems that you provide. So in this case, we worked on a couple addition problems and we used the manipulatives together to count and solve. And then you allow for independent practice. That's the you do portion of the of the lesson. And that's where you let the student go ahead and try the problem on their own to see if they're able to use what you just taught independently. While the student is solving, you can make sure to ask them questions to truly see if they're understanding. So you could ask what blocks they might use for the number 10. You could ask how many more they need to add if they've already put a certain amount down. You might ask what they need to do next. And then you can elicit a response by having the student write their answer on the whiteboard that they're using. It's really important while the students are doing this to provide that immediate feedback and specific feedback. Tell them, great job. Tell them what you like that they're doing. Maybe I like that you're remembering to use the tens rods, or I like how you're taking your time to work through the problem, being really specific with that feedback. But in addition to that, you might provide some feedback to help them, such as maybe next time you want to recount to make sure that you got the right answer. Using the strategy of explicit instruction and using concrete models, it could be beneficial for many grades, but I found it especially effective in those lower grades with students who are struggling with their addition facts and strategies. Many of the students in the lower grades require those concrete visuals to be able to see. This also allows the students to physically move and visually see that when you add, the number is getting bigger. I think that this strategy could be modified over time by providing more challenging problems and introducing alternatives to using concrete models. Students could also be able to pair up and work together with other students. They might be able to play some games with using the blocks and rods, or they might be able to use the dice game and work together to find strategies to help them add. I do think that this is an introduction to a skill, and it wouldn't necessarily need intense instruction to make the strategy effective. But I do think it's important to have a lesson either before or a mini lesson where you're introducing specific terminology and what it means to add, so the students have a basic understanding of the concept. The students would also need to have worked with the base 10 blocks and the units and those manipulatives in order to understand that the rod is worth 10 and that you can just add on to it. That's something that would have probably needed to have been taught prior. If not, I definitely think it's important to allow them to play with the manipulatives first so they're not playing with it during the lesson. The formal and informal assessments that were given in this particular lesson, the informal assessment was the dice game. You can just have students play a game where they roll 2 dice and they have to add the numbers together, and you can see if they're understanding what to do, how to put those 2 numbers down, and how to count the manipulatives to add them together. That could be a quick informal assessment that might be fun for the students to do. And then for the formal assessment, you could just give them problems to solve on their own and work through and see if they're effectively using what they've learned. In this particular lesson, the student used 10 units to count for 10 instead of a tens rod, but also realized that he could have used a tens rod as well. So it shows that they were able to take what they've learned from the lesson and apply it to solving problems. In this lesson, I felt that the demonstration went well, but I also know that that's because the individual I worked with had a complete understanding and background knowledge and knew the expectations of the task. I think that I could have been more clear with the instructions and slowed down. I also think I could have introduced the blocks a little bit more in the beginning. I think it's important that I should be asking the student if they have an understanding of what to do, and maybe asking them to repeat back to me what to do and what the purpose of adding is. I noticed that I did most of the talking, and I think that it would be important to have the student tell me what they should be doing so that I can see that they're understanding. I could also have been asking them what it means to add, or if when they add the number is getting bigger or smaller. This would allow me to really see if they have a true understanding of the concept they are working on. In this particular lesson or in this specific video, I may not have seen it, but I know that when I've done similar types of lessons with my students, they were going through the steps and completing it, but when they did it on their own, they didn't really have a true understanding of the concept or vocabulary being used. So they weren't really sure what the term addition was or adding, or that the numbers were getting bigger. They just kind of knew how to manipulate the blocks in order to get an answer. So I think it's really important to talk through it and make sure they have a true understanding of that, of what the concept they're working on is. Additionally, when doing this with some of the students, they lost count of the manipulatives, or they didn't count right. So a way that I could have modified it could be that I could physically be moving the manipulatives for them, or I could be using a pointer or my finger so that I could physically point as they counted to ensure that they got the right number. So those are some ways that the lessons could have been changed or modified, and that is the strategy that I would use to teach addition to some of my students.